and your parents are on the legal, responsible path to becoming a citizen within the law. But we have to recognize that we're going bankrupt as a country with regard to the costs that we're imposing. And we're doing this to ourselves. And so the solution is not necessarily a constitutional amendment, in my opinion. I think we can write legislation, we can enforce existing laws, and we can solve these problems in a humane and compassionate way. So I'll do my best to do it.
Yeah, I think I would agree with the notion that we first and foremost need to enforce existing immigration law. And as a result, I'm always very leery of amending the Constitution only under the most incredibly dire circumstances. We need to, first and foremost, make sure our borders once again are secure, as I said in the prior answer. That's how you deal with this issue. And I think if we do that, then I think all the other issues regarding the 14th Amendment should be in place. The intent of the 14th Amendment has changed a little bit over time, or hasn't changed, excuse me. The situation has probably changed over time. But let me be very clear again, any kind of immigration reform, again, has to start with this notion of border security.
First, let me say I'm not one of those politicians that picks and chooses which part of the Constitution to support. And I think it should only be amended in the most exceptional cases. It should never be amended for political purposes. And certainly that's the case here.
Okay, that completes our formal questions. We have questions from the audience. And the gentleman will have 1 minute to respond to each of the questions from the audience. We have a number of questions. If other questions have come to mind and you want to submit a question, just bring it up to me and I'll put it in the queue we have a lot. So the first question is, for each of you, is how is our federal government spending affecting the growth of small business owners? And I guess we'll go alphabetical order.
Boy, I'd say the crushing debt that we face is stifling any kind of economic growth. The last year I worked for Congressman Skeen, 1987, the House Appropriations Committee staff. The federal budget, every dime we spent at that time was $1 trillion. Fast forward 23 short years later, the lifetime of my oldest son, and we're now at an estimated debt estimated budget of $4 trillion, estimated because this House of Representatives did not vote on the budget. First time since the Budget Act of '74. We have a $13.3 trillion debt, $44,000 for every man, woman, and child in America. That's unacceptable. It's unsustainable. Mr. Heinrich has voted for every so-called stimulus bill. I think a cumulative total of $1.2 trillion. That does not grow our economy. It simply does not work. It has not grown jobs in the private sector. We've lost jobs in the private sector, and we're in a horrible, status of economic conditions. Job one is to get our debt and deficit under control so that we can grow this economy once again.
First off, the Recovery Act costs money. We got stuck with a hole and we had to dig out of it. That wasn't cheap. But when you compare that as a one-time expense to the year after year problem in our structural deficit that was created by entering into 2 wars without paying for, by creating 2 tax cuts for the wealthiest Americans without paying for, by creating a $400 billion giveaway to the pharmaceutical companies without paying for it, those things are impacting our year over year budget right now. And President Obama gets stuck with a lot of stuff that was stuck in there between 2000 and 2008 because they didn't have pay-go rules, because they got rid of pay-go rules. It was the Democratic Congress who brought pay-go rules back because that's what we used in the 1990s to get our budget under control.
Yes!
The problem that we have in this country is that the government is getting involved. And when the government gets involved spending your money, they distort the market. And you can take your choice, whether that's the healthcare market, whether that's the car market, General Motors, you name it. We have got to stop the spending, and that's across the board. So when we talk about the wars, yes, we need to fund our military and our wars, but we're going to have to make cuts. Right now, we're spending $2 for every dollar that we bring in tax revenue. Over, I think it was $120 billion for the last month. That's our, you look at your checking account, and if we spent $120 billion more for the month, and then we're kicking around these answers about reducing the deficit in some ways, it's a joke. And we have got to make some tough decisions and cut across the board in all the categories, and we have got to reduce government. And government employees need to be back into the private sector, where they're paying some taxes, and then everything will balance out. That's the solution.
The next question is, as a new resident of New Mexico, I am concerned about obtaining health care. 0 physicians in Farmington will accept new patients on Medicare. How will you correct this? And let's go backwards from how it works, and I'll go with first.
Well, since they're from Farmington, I hope I have a good answer. Again, I think what we just talked about, though, and just to clarify the terminology, she's not having difficulty getting health care, she's having difficulty getting health insurance that will effectively pay for it. And the problem lies in that the government is getting involved. And every step of the way when the government steps forward and becomes involved in trying to help us or give us a solution, we find that we're left out in the cold. And we're seeing that with regard to the health care bill that's been put through for Medicare Advantage. I've talked to a number of seniors. Everyone is very fearful. So to go to Farmington, what we need to do for a solution is you need to go in and directly talk to your doctors. You need to talk to your friends and neighbors to come up with a financial solution on how you're going to pay for your health care that you need. And some people, we do have folks that are out there that are in need of assistance. And that's where the government needs to step forward and give them that. But we need to do that. I'm running over my time. I'm just going to be quiet and say we need to step forward. My opponent, Ben Lujan, talks about families and communities. Those are his favorite 2 words. You'll hear that on the campaign trail repeatedly. And you wonder what he said, and he said, well, he said